All right. Hey, Soul Survivors. I have Joel Chapman with us. He is a boxer, MMA fighter, and also does TAEKWONDO. So him and I have never fought, but he probably would win. So we're going to talk about some of the trauma that he's been through. He was in a relationship that went south because of some of the things he did. And it just some of the trust issues had dissolved, and so he got that right back in his face and went through some depression. um whether we do something wrong, we still have feelings. And how did you react to that? How did you went through depression for approximately how long?
Oh man, I went through depression probably about 4 or 5 months. It was bad. That was probably the saddest I was in my life. I just drank. I couldn't barely eat. I couldn't sleep. I lost a lot of weight. The reason why that breakup hurt me is because it was my fault. When somebody else does something, whatever, if somebody else treats you bad or is a narcissist or does whatever, and they break up with you, it's easier to process. But when it's your fault, that's what hurt me. It was my fault. I knew what I did was wrong. So then, right after that, I got a narcissist that just dug their claws into me, and
Oh,
it got worse. They kind of preyed on me, but I shouldn't say that, but that's how it felt
well,
in the
you
end.
were in a vulnerable state.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
couldn't possibly be.
yeah. And looking back, I probably would have made it to the UFC if that wouldn't have happened. That's my fault. I couldn't train. I didn't fight for about a year and a half after that breakup. It really got me. And I was right in my prime, everything. I had my life laid out, and I just couldn't do it. And when I got with that new girl, that was so complicated because I was still healing from the last relationship, and she was a dancer. It is You have to be a very, very, how can I put this? You have to have very thick skin to date a dancer publicly and be in the public. Because I
And
was
why
a
is
very
that?
public. Because it's rough. Like sometimes I would have people come to the strip club, and then they can just see my girlfriend just right there naked. Like
Yeah.
you have to be a very secure man to be able to handle something like that. And the girl, she okay, she it was rough. It was a rough relationship. When that girl was sober, nicest girl in the world. But when she drank, and she had to drink to do her job, because when she stripped, she needed to drink to strip. So
To
she would
lose
drink
the
every night.
inhibitions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was the relationship was good when it was bad. It was good because she was super bipolar and super crazy. So usually bipolar people, from what I understand, they have like a high sexual drive a lot of the time. So
Well, like bipolar comes from within and borderline comes from the outside. So their triggers are different. And
really
bipolar is a mood disorder, and borderline is a personality disorder. So they can kind of seem the same, but they manifest different and their triggers are different.
interesting, interesting. Well, the good thing about dating a dancer, the good thing is they usually give you a lot of love, and that is good. That's the good part of it. But the bad part is when they turn into gremlins and they drink and they act crazy. Well, that specific dancer, because
Yeah.
I dated two dancers in my life, and the other one was not like that. She was she smoked weed, really calm, really cool. But the other narcissist one, she was really crazy. For example, this is a quick story. She wanted to have a threesome, and I'm like, I don't want to have a threesome. I was like, I don't want to do it. I was like, that will mess our relationship up. She was like, no, it won't, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, I was like, that's a bad idea. And she was just like, no, it's not. So it was amateur night at Angels, and it was this really pretty girl, and they start making out and doing all this other stuff. And they were like, you want to join? I'm like, I'm good. Because that girl was really jealous and crazy, anyways. Super.
Okay.
If anybody looked at me wrong, she would be ready to fight them or ready to jump. She would jump down my throat about anything. I felt like an abused puppy. Like,
Oh, wow.
I mean, I didn't think about any other girl that whole time but her. But if a girl even looked at me crazy, why are you looking at her? You want to fuck her? She would just abuse me verbally all the time, just stay on me. Well, I knew she was jealous and I knew she was a bit crazy. So I was like, I don't want to have a threesome. Like, no, that is
Right.
a bad idea. Well, so I was trying to, her and that girl were making out. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And then she was just like, what, are you gay? Are you a fag? And just call me all these horrible names. I'm like,
That that's
I'm,
interesting. She's doing that to control you, to knock you down, for you to prove it's a manipulation tactic. And she's not respecting your boundaries. You told her clearly, I'm not going to do it. You even gave her reasons why.
yeah.
And
I said, I didn't want to have sex with another girl. And she got mad.
and that's the thing. Usually women are like, oh, I have the best boyfriend. He's very loyal and faithful to me. He thinks I'm the only one. And do you think she had low self-esteem that she wanted?
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. I mean, that girl has some issues to this day. I don't talk to her that much, but she has some issues, and she I noticed she just preys on guys. Like she'll prey on somebody to get tired of her, and they just
Mhm.
get away from her. They survive and get away from her, and then she leeches onto somebody else. You know?
That's the thing. Yeah, they'll go from one person to another.
Yes. So she was out of town because she lived in Grand Rapids, and I just happened to be at Angels with some of my friends, and that same girl that she wanted to have a three-way with was there. And that girl, she was all drunk, and I mean, I felt so uncomfortable because I was sitting at the table, and then she came and she sat with me, that girl, and like all of the dancers are looking at me, like because they know they know I date her, they know I date that girl. So all the dancers, the whole club is watching me. I'm like, oh my god, and this girl's all over me. And she was just like, let's go back to your house. I was like, first of all, I was like, my girl's in here. She's like, I don't care. Let's go back to your house and start
Oh,
playing with
wow.
herself. So I like slunk underneath the table. And I was
Like, get
like,
me out of here.
yeah, I was like, I gotta go. So I got up and I left. So as soon as I leave the club, first thing I do, I call my girlfriend. I'm like, I let her know what was going on. I'm like, that girl tried to sleep with me. I was like, I care about you. I was like, I didn't do it. I was like, I left the club, and I was like, my friends are witnesses and everything. She was like, okay. She comes back to work, and the girls were just like, that girl was all over Joel. She snaps on me. She's like, you piece of shit. Da 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 da. She's like, you're a bad. I'm like, what would have happened if we would have did it?
Yeah, she was even open to it. Well,
She
I
was
guess if
stabbing
she
me.
was included, but
Yeah, so she ended up like getting mad at me and like almost ended up almost having to apologize. It's
that's the
like,
thing. They get you to apologize for things that aren't necessarily your fault. And that's what a lot of the trauma that we go through and the confusion, that's where they turn things over onto you.
yeah,
They,
I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, why would you get mad at me when I told you everything? I was completely honest, and I told you I didn't even want to do anything.
yeah, so she's not listening to what you said because those are your boundaries, your core personality. And, it gets confusing. It's like, yeah, I thought you were open to, kind of being freaky or whatever. And, the way that they cut you down, yell at you, and when you're trying to do the right thing, like you were trying to be on the up and up and tell her. And, does that make you comfortable to even tell her the next time? And that's where the relationships start going toxic, where you're like, I don't know, do I say something? I don't want to upset her, but I feel I should. And, how do you have a healthy relationship like that? They don't communicate the right way. They're not uh they will always look at the negative, and we're trying to look at the positive. Like, that's positive. I'm communicating with her, letting her know that I was her man. And yeah, it's the insecurities, like,
Yeah, that girl was very insecure, but I mean, that industry is crazy. And another dancer who I dated, complete opposite. I mean, everybody, nobody's perfect, but she was nothing like that. It's weird how, because sometimes dancers get a bad rap. I mean, I used to even manage a strip club. Some girls are really cool, and some girls are just really crazy. And I mean, a majority of, I will say, fighters and dancers are very much narcissists. So a lot of them, I will say, because I mean, fighters, a lot of times fighters they get worshipped in a way. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
We like the modern day gladiators.
Right.
So a lot of them, they really they feel like they like gods.
And
And
it feels good to be in power like that, but absolute power corrupts. And some people latch onto it and ride it out and take advantage of it, and then you become accustomed to it. So you go into a restaurant, you're like, I get a free meal. And it's like, well, you know, that people start taking advantage of people.
yep, yep. And then dancers, when it boils down to it, dancers are I think they are the apex predators of society when it boils down to it. I think they're at the top of the food chain because when it boils down to it, a dancer's job is I'm pretty, give me money.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what though, it's changed because I've managed at strip clubs, I've sold costumes, and back in 1988, they used to dance on the tables, and then they started introducing lap dances. They used to get paid like 20 bucks an hour when minimum wage was 3.35, and then it went to sometimes you had to pay like $120 a night. You had to pay anywhere from 30 to 45% of your tips. You had to tip out dressing room moms and barbacks and waitresses and like it started causing a lot of stress in these girls. Plus, too, in '88, it used to be the beautiful girls that were basically your Barbie dolls. Not that if you don't fit that, you're not beautiful, but industry standard. And as it started, where they started charging the girls, it didn't matter, what. Um,
It started getting watered down pretty
how heavy
much.
you were, whether you had stretch marks or cute little boobies, or it didn't matter. There's no standards anymore. And so they just hired. The more they hire, well, they don't, not really hired, allowed to work there, they call it renting the stage, that it didn't matter what you look like, because 120 bucks a night, yeah, come in the door. They just let anybody work, and there were so many. It used to be like 8, 10, 12 girls, and then it turns out to what was it, Deja Vu had like 120 girls at night sometimes, depending on which Deja Vu.
Yep.
And and then you had to sell t-shirts, and if you didn't sell it, you had to buy it. A lot of clubs, you had to sell alcohol, so it's encouraging the girls to drink. If you didn't sell alcohol, the guys didn't want to buy you a drink, so you had to buy your own. And Torch in South Bend, Indiana, was 30 bucks for a glass of Diet Coke or whatever, whether it's champagne or Diet Coke.
Ironically, a lot of girls, when I managed at Harley's back in the day, I just say where I used to manage. When I used to manage at Harley's, a lot of the Indiana girls will come to my club because the club you were just talking about was so bad, and they would
Yeah.
get charged, and they said a lot of shady stuff was going on. So yeah, the strip club industry, it can definitely be wild. It's so much stuff that people just don't know about it.
Yeah, and first I want to say, that in the strip clubs, there's a lot of professional women, a lot of women on the up and up that don't do drugs or alcohol, but there's a lot that fall prey to it, and sometimes to fit in, or, just like a lot of times the guys wouldn't talk to you unless you allowed them to buy you a drink. That they're purposely trying to manipulate the girl to get her drunk, because once they went from table to private dancing, VIP, or depending on where you go, they have secluded VIP rooms. And some had down in Gary, Indiana, they had like a helicopter you could go up in, and anything goes. There's no cops there to save you. And the girls were encouraged for that. And the clubs just took such a big cut of it too, that it became dog eat dog. And
I know.
um, so the girls, how did you see them surviving in that kind of atmosphere? Because like I said, not all of them are shady or mentally ill, but a lot of them, even over time. Um,
It just depends on the girl, from just being around dancers and even managing clubs. I mean, every girl goes there for a different reason. But I will say this, and I'm not knocking anybody. I have no problem with dancers. I think dancers are awesome. But me and my friend, we were talking about dancers, why they become dancers, and usually, this is gonna sound crazy. Usually, most dancers that I know, they've either had a couple things happen to them. They either unfortunately didn't have a father figure.
mhm.
That's one. Or unfortunately, they got put in a sect. They got molested or something. unfortunately, because they got put in a sexual situation that they didn't feel comfortable with. So they like to be able to have that power back in the strip club and take some of that back. You know
Excellent.
what I mean?
Yeah, you can't
Yeah,
touch or you can touch for this amount of money or whatever. Yeah, it's a way
yeah,
of controlling their trauma that they went through. And that's what
exactly.
I had talked to you about that when I started my psychology. I'm certified to teach psychology, but that's what I wondered is what percent of women, and I believe it's 90, 95%, if not all of them, have been sexually abused in some way. So,
Yeah, because I went by because I was real good friends. I mean, I was sponsored by a couple of clubs. I was sponsored by the one I ended up managing. I was sponsored by Angels, and I like we did me and my friends. They asked me to ask the girls, so I asked 10 girls, and
oh,
10 out of 10 told me the same thing. They either
in
did not have a father figure or they were molested.
very
10 out of 10.
interesting.
Yep,
Yeah.
all of
And
them, every
and
single one.
yeah, and sometimes the traumas we go through in our childhood become ingrained in us, and it's really hard to break free from that. And I know you had a rough childhood growing up. You talked about being a fighter, to get the aggression out. And these girls are trying to, um, regain control sometimes.
Yeah,
And
they are, or some of them they trying to regain control. They just want money. They want the quick money. A lot of them are really pretty girls, you know what I mean, and they like to manipulate men. You know, when it boils down to a
it's a
lot. I mean,
challenge,
it's a challenge. It's not as easy because most guys, and this is just kind of where our society is. A lot of guys just want sex and they want easy sex. You
right?
know, like there's been so many times I couldn't count how many husbands or are in the strip club trying to get sex from girls because it's easy. You know, like they want to get away from their wives, they want to get away from their girlfriends, and they will pay somebody to have sex just so they can just have sex, get that outlet, and they don't want to have to take the girl home or deal with them in an everyday life.
And
So
that's
that's
why
why,
it's important moving forward to really have people invest in you because sometimes they can say whatever. Of course, I'm going to leave my wife or I want to be with you. But until you give them that test or that time to invest in you, you don't know if they're going to hang in there.
but I think it never works. I think when you try to start something like that, it never works because the foundation is just messed up. Every time I've seen somebody try to leave somebody for something, if they it's a saying, if they do it to you, they do it to you, they do it for or they do it for you, they will do it to you.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's just who they are. You know what I mean? Probably the biggest narcissist relationship I ever ran into, it was, oh man, it happened from Facebook. I was doing a Facebook live, and it was this girl. I'm not gonna say her name. She's still on my Facebook today. And
Is it me?
beautiful, beautiful girl. Yeah, she looked like Mila Kunis, and that's like my celebrity crush. That's like one of my celebrity crushes. So she looked like one of my celebrity crushes. Beautiful girl, and I just had a bad MMA event. Because I throw shows too. I'm a
Okay.
promoter as well, and I just lost thousands and thousands of dollars, and I was depressed. And that girl, man, she got with me, and she isolated me from everybody. It
Really?
was bad. Yeah, yeah. She was bad. She was on an alcohol probation and she couldn't drink. I never forget how that relationship ended. Like my feelings were hurt so bad because at the end of it, she was finally getting off alcohol probation. And then I was just like, okay, you want to go? Because I was starting to, get back to myself. I
Right.
was starting, kick that depression. And I was like, well, let's go have drinks, with you and your friends. And she was like, okay. And then like a day before we were supposed to go out, and she was just like, I don't think I want you to come. And I was like, you don't want me to come have drinks with you and your friends? She was just like, nah, I don't think I want you to come. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then the day she went out, she came over and she picked up her stuff. I was
Oh.
like, I was like, oh
Were you living together or just
no,
she just left
no,
stuff behind?
she just left stuff at my house. She wasn't living with me. She just came over pretty much almost every day. And then she sent me a text before she went out, and she was just like, do you think we should I was just like, I think we should see other people. And I was like, I'm good. I'm like, you go have fun. And then she was just like, okay. And that
Yeah.
was it.
How long were you with her? Dating?
I was I dated her. That wasn't a long relationship. I dated her for about 6 months.
Okay.
But she was bad. And after that, like I felt free, and I didn't even feel bad when that relationship was over because if you just gonna go out on the first weekend that you could drink and go bang somebody else,
Right.
like you weren't,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yes,
sometimes, luckily, she told you or gave you a hint and you picked up on what she was really about. Sometimes we overlook those, or, we're with a narcissist who is so extreme that, they reassure us that it'll be okay. So we stick it out. Like they're just, I guess they just need girl time, and I can understand that. There's times I want the guys around. So you're like, okay, go ahead, and we somehow process without seeing the red flag. But um, you said that she isolated you. What are some of her tactics that she did to isolate you?
okay. She didn't like my best friend. She's like, "Are you sleeping with her?" Da 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 da. No, like my best friend is still my best friend. My best friend is literally my roommate. She just came in here and brought me cookies 1 second
Oh,
ago off camera, and she tried to make it seem like it was a big deal, like I was sleeping with her and all this shit was going on. I'm like, nah, we just really good friends.
right.
You know what I mean? And she didn't want me to have any like female friends, and all she had was dude friends. And it's like she had a problem with anybody in my life. She
Okay.
didn't want me to see anybody. Like she didn't want me to hang out with anybody but her. She would get super duper jealous, just try to control every aspect of my life. And if I didn't like something and I would let her know, she would just snap on me, start arguments, and I would be like, it's not that big of a deal. But if she didn't like something about me, she would freak out on me in a heartbeat
That's what
and tell
makes
me,
it hard to communicate because you just want to share your opinion. They don't have to agree with you, but you're like, this is just what I think. And you're not allowed to think in a sense.
yeah, you can't have a normal healthy relationship with people like that because they're not normal healthy people, like mentally. They don't care, they don't have any compassion for you, they don't care about you. It's like they don't even have any feelings when
Now,
it boils down to it.
was she consistent during that 6 months of like consistent love or calling you back or communication? Was it good during that time?
Yeah, yeah, it was really good during that time, and that's how she got me. Was I've noticed every narcissist that I've ever dated, like they give you a lot of sex and a lot of good sex, and like they just own you, and it's just like you just feel like you in heaven at first, and you feel like you just start to love them, and you just in love with them, and then they start to show, they start to get their teeth in you, and then things just start getting bad, then they start isolating you, and then it's like they don't want you to do anything, but like you have to answer to them for everything. They want to control every aspect of your life, and even when you are doing everything good, they still find ways to beat you up or try to bring you down, and it's just like, why do you want to bring me down?
Yeah,
Like I don't.
they get
Yeah,
mad if you're cooking and singing, you don't know they're even in the room and you're like, "Oh, but you can't have a good time. You can't
yeah,
just, um
no,
gosh,
you
so yeah, you've been through a lot. I would like to talk to you again sometime soon about the different things that you've seen in the strip club, even the men that have been in there, and like you said, some of the background of these dancers, the things that they've gone through. So,
yeah.
have you dated more than one narcissist, or was it just that one in particular person? Because it is different. It's a different experience.
Yeah, no, I've dated a few narcissists, unfortunately. I mean, and it always ends the same. By the end of the relationship, I feel like I'm glad to just be free. I feel like I'm glad to be away from them. And as I've gotten older, I'm more cautious. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I think with this head, let's not think with that head. And I think that, yeah, I
I only
think,
got one head to think. It's harder for
yeah.
women.
No, no. I mean, women, y'all have a head. It's just really
It's just a
small.
little one. All right,
So
Joel.
okay. Okay, so I think we run out of time.
And it's so funny. Like I just taught my class on puberty and I had to show the clitoris.
Yeah, it's just a little penis. That's how
Yeah.
that's how I view it in my head.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have grew into a penis if the just that little Y chromosome. Pretty
Yep. Yep.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it is interesting. Like the strip club. and and to this day, like right now, I own a spa, and it's very similar. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, it's very. You have the same type of people who come in the spa as you do in the strip club.
Is it a
You-
massage spa or like a hot tub spa? What kind of
It's, a,
spa?
it's just a massage spa.
Oh, now you tell me. No,
Yeah,
just kidding. But
yeah.
yeah, there's even you know, your up and up masseuses that yeah, they're propositioned a lot. That's why I broke, well, I had my thumb broken. And it clicks every third rotation. So if I'm giving somebody a back rub, it'll click just because of where it was broken. And my mom loves my back rubs and she's like, you should do this for a living. I'm like, no, I don't want that reputation. You know.
Yeah, I know, and I don't get it, and it's sad, but I mean, it is what it is. Those girls, almost every dude asks for a happy ending. I
Hmm.
mean, I'll put it like this: I even do it myself. I even do
The happy
massages
endings.
myself. No, not the happy
I'm
endings.
teasing.
Not unless I'm not. Well, I mean, I do if if I'm messing with somebody. If like it's a
Right,
friends with
you're
benefits or a girlfriend, hell yeah, I give them a happy ending. But like your average person, definitely not. Like
right.
customers that come to my spot, I would never hit on a customer, nothing. Because a lot of times when I do sessions there with couples, a lot of the
Okay.
time I have a nice couples room. So
Oh,
yeah, so I do sessions with couples, and I
you're just a
just
jack of all trades. Well, we're running out of time. So Joel, thank you so much. We're gonna see you more. I enjoy
okay,
talking with you.
okay.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
again. You're
All right, thank
welcome.
you. All right, bye
Bye-bye.
bye.